You've read the title, you've seen the thumbnail, you know what this video is about. I'm coming out. But as what exactly? That's what I'm here to talk about today, because honestly, I didn't know. Not at first, not at the beginning of my journey. One day I might make a more documentary type video where I kind of show where I was at, like in social media and stuff, with videos and graphics and whatnot. But for right now, I'm just going to be talking into this camera, occasionally changing the background with the video effects in CapCut. This video is going to talk about what I am, what it means, and how I got here. So let's start with that last one. How did I get here? Well, when I was young, for about the first 14 years of my life, I was a cishet boy. That is shorthand for cisgender heterosexual. The Latin prefix cis means on the same side of. It's the opposite of the Latin prefix trans, which I'm sure you've heard many times in words like transportation and if you ever wanted to know what the opposite of trans was, it's cis. Basically, you're given birth to, and the doctor says it's a boy or it's a girl. That is your gender assigned at birth. Later down the line, if you agree with that, if that feels right to you, you are cisgender. Heterosexual means you are attracted to the opposite gender or sex. Honestly, labels are kind of weird. They don't really work for everybody. The ocean is a soup. So that was for about the first 14 years of my life. When I became a freshman in high school, I got my first girlfriend. We're no longer dating, that's whatever. But I was having attraction to not just girls.
From editing Isaac, I did not get my first girlfriend and have my bi awakening as a freshman in high school. I had those things happen to me when I was in middle school. Also, I wanted to say this because I feel like it's important. I just didn't say it in the initial recording. The first exposures I really had to trans and non-binary people were a couple people that I'm no longer friends with, unfortunately, and also the Undertale fandom. So, if that puts things into perspective. Anyway, that's it. That's it from editing Isaac. Okay, back to the main video.
I was having attraction to boys, and I didn't know what the feeling was, but then I learned about bisexuality, where you are attracted to more than one gender. There's kind of a few things that are under the bi umbrella. There's pansexuality. There's a few labels that all kind of mean the same thing. We're going to learn throughout this video is that sometimes the only difference between one label and another is person A likes using this label and person B likes using this label. Sometimes one label is just more comfortable than another. Anyway, so I identified as a bisexual cisgender man for a long time. I even have my first phone case be art that was inspired by the bisexual pride flag, and I have that art in the background of my profile picture on TikTok. I was thinking, well, I'm not really attracted to men all that much, and that kind of came fully into fruition when I got onto Bumble and I put down looking for men and women, and there were all these men that were swiping right on me. I didn't really like any of them, and I was like, really? This is it? And I found out that I wasn't really attracted to men all that much, if really at all. I think there are some men that are attractive, but I personally didn't feel it was enough for me to consider myself bisexual anymore. I didn't want to be a straight man, which I think was part of the problem. I was kind of afraid of being grouped in with a bunch of not okay people. I didn't want there to be people who were afraid of me, which honestly, that's something I don't want anyone to be afraid of. I think regardless of your gender or sexual orientation, you shouldn't be afraid to be who you are. I think everyone should be loved and accepted. So I didn't want to be a straight man, and I think part of that was that I didn't want to be a man. So when I joined TikTok, I found that I crashed headfirst into the queer community because TikTok is really good at pairing you with people who are like you. And I found that I was in bisexual women TikTok. I was in that faction, bisexual women TikTok, and that's kind of a weird place to be when you're a bisexual man. Um, but then I was no longer bisexual, so one of these things did not apply to me anymore. Um, Pretty much going into that side of TikTok, I was in like all of queer TikTok, the entire LGBTQ plus community, just every single one of them. Each letter of the alphabet mafia came rushing at me as I scrolled through my For You page, and I was following people. These are some of my favorite creators on that side of TikTok, on the queer side of TikTok. I've made friends through there. It was great. Now, one thing I should mention is two of my favorite queer content creators on TikTok have changed their label as to who they are, as to what they are, as time has moved on TikTok. Now, I didn't join TikTok until the pandemic hit. And if you know what happened during the pandemic, a lot of people came in not queer, and at least at this point in the pandemic, it's 2022 as I'm recording this video. At this point in the pandemic, a lot of people have come out not cishet. And I was the same way. Now, I didn't go in as a cishet, but I didn't come out as a bi cisgender man. No, no. I'm no longer bi, but I did find something that I identified with, being non binary. I didn't really feel like I fit in with gender in general. I didn't like being a man. I didn't really feel like a woman. I felt kind of in the middle. So I changed my pronouns from he, him to he, they. That was working for me for a while. This would be, I don't know, about mid 2020 to mid 2021. I was a he, they. I didn't really like he all that much. I wanted more people to use they, them for me. So I became a they, he. I was kind of pushing the they, them. And that wasn't really working so much. And then I went to basic training and I got called man and guy and all that all the time, and I really didn't like that. And when I got out of basic training, I almost immediately, like as soon as I could, changed my pronouns on various social media platforms. I went full they, them, and I've started correcting people. When they say he, I say they. When they say him, I say them. When they say his, I say theirs. um, that is where I went. I even bought this pronoun button. And then there was the question of my sexuality. What do you define your sexuality as, uh, if it's based on your gender relative to what you're attracted to? What do you do if you don't have a gender? If you're non binary, how do you identify? And this was a question people asked me in basic. They're like, all right, so gender doesn't matter to you, so what are you attracted to? And I would say I'm attracted to people who present feminine, people who are androgynous. That's what I'm attracted to. And one guy was kind of listening in on that. He wanted to know too. And he said, "Oh, you could have just said you were straight." And in my mind, I cringed. I don't know if I did in real life, but I did in my mind. And I was like, "Oh, I'm not straight." There's nothing wrong with being straight. I should I should make that perfectly clear. There's nothing wrong with being straight. I just didn't feel like that label worked for me. I was like, okay, well, I like women. But I'm not a man. I'm not a woman. I'm not straight. I know that. And I know I'm not a man. Um, and I kind of chewed on that for a while. I really thought about that for a long time. Um, and then there were my queer friends, the two maiden ladies team Discord server. I was kind of talking with them about it. Then one day, one of the co-creators of Two Maiden Ladies, August Greenwood, was on a live stream talking about how they felt not welcome in the lesbian community for being non-binary, and they were like, "Well, non-binary lesbians are lesbians too," and I was like, "Huh, I'm non-binary." And they were talking about this in reference to a video they had made, in which they had read the Lesbian Master Doc and had decided, well, okay, if a lesbian is a non man attracted to another non man, I'm not a man, and I'm not attracted to men, therefore I'm a lesbian. And I kind of thought this way too. I was like, huh, yeah, that kind of makes sense. At this point, I was full they them, and August said something to me that I will never forget. I was in the chat. I will never forget they said this to me. They said, "There's no difference between you and I because we're both non-binary." And that really resonated with me because I personally didn't believe it for myself. I kind of have this double standard with myself where the things I think are sometimes invalid. But if someone else were thinking the exact same thing I was thinking, they would be valid. If there were some other person who were assigned male at birth who was non binary and identified as a lesbian, they would be valid. But I am not valid despite being exactly those same things. And it just didn't feel right. I didn't feel right. Like, I personally did not feel correct. And I had thought about it for a long time, and I thought, you know what? Lesbian is the right label for me. I don't know why, I don't know how, but something's starting right now, and what's starting right now is my lesbian arc. So I identified as a lesbian. I wasn't really comfortable coming out with that though. The problem was I was not a woman in more ways than one, both physically and in my gender, but mainly physically was the problem for me. I was like, maybe I don't want to come out. Which all my friends were like, oh yeah, that's valid. Even August, despite being assigned female at birth, was like, yeah, that's valid. I don't want to come out as a lesbian that much because a lot of people are like, you're non-binary. You can't be a lesbian. Lesbian is women loving women. And for a long time I was like, that makes sense that you wouldn't want to come out, and I'm not doing that either. I wasn't yet. This is not where the video ends, obviously. You can see the time there. I came out to myself. I was like, okay, I'm not a man. I'm a lesbian, but am I still non-binary? Is this... And I started what I was calling my Transfem arc because there were a lot of times where I had very transfem thoughts, if that makes sense. Transfem means you are born male, but in your head you are female. That's what that is. Very, very simple to understand. Transgender is the opposite of cisgender. We've already discussed this. There was the problem of me going through this gender crisis. Once before, I had asked a few of my friends, I made a friends only TikTok asking them to use she, her pronouns for me in the comments just to test them out, and I did not like it. So then I thought, okay, I'm on my transfem arc. I don't want to drop they, them, though, because that gives me gender euphoria. Gender euphoria means you feel good when gender things happen around you that match your gender. So I thought, okay, am I a trans femme? And I wanted to see if she, her worked. And we'll get back to that in just a second. I had been talking about this a lot. My friend August had said, you can be non-binary and trans femme. You can do that. And that part, I love them so much. I was like, okay, how do I explain that? And one thing, one of my favorite queer creators, Addison Grace, has honestly one of my favorite queer people in general. I don't know them personally. I just love everything about them, though, and that's that's that. That's the end of that thought. Um, so one of my favorite queer people, Addison Grace, has said something very profound that labels aren't always important. Um, and I love that. I love that very much. And I agree with that. I think labels aren't for everybody. They don't work for everybody. Not everybody needs a label. I personally am comfortable with labels. I think if I have a label, if I know what I am, then I like that. I at least want a label for myself, even if I don't share it with anybody. It's mine. I want it for myself. And I was very uncomfortable for a while because I didn't really know what my gender was. I didn't know how that worked. And then I remembered a term I had heard a long time ago, demigirl. I thought, that works. That feels comfortable. I like that. I took it to mean, I'm sometimes a girl and I'm sometimes not. It's different from gender fluid. Gender fluid is you can be anything whenever. You can be whatever whenever is gender fluid. My gender is about as fluid as ice that you put it into the ice cube tray, you freeze it, and then you set it out and it melts, and then you put it into a differently shaped ice cube tray, and you freeze that. The whole process takes a very long time. Also, it's not water, it's molasses. That's how long it all takes. But I was determined to find this label for myself, and I was very happy with demigirl. Gender fluid doesn't feel right, and that's what I said earlier. Some labels feel right, some labels don't, even if they all kind of mean the same thing. In summary, I love all of my friends and family and uh, battle buddies that have helped me through this, who've kind of bared with me as I've taken them through my crap. My parents have probably bared it the most because I'm always correcting them with they them. Geez, can you imagine? They now know I'm a they she. That's gonna blow their minds. This is gonna blow their minds when they see this video. I know they're gonna watch it. Well, my dad will. My mom might see the runtime and be like, "Oh, maybe not." But Dad, you give Mom the Cliff Notes version for me. Anyway, um, so that's who I am. I, Isaac Dahl, am a demigirl lesbian. My pronouns are they them. You might be wondering, why do I not look feminine? Um, I haven't started transitioning yet. Honestly, the pronouns were a big step for me. I don't really have any wigs. I have a Sailor Mercury wig, but I don't really have any others. And I kind of like my hair color, so I might look into that. I don't have any problems with my voice. In my head, I am Addison Grace, in the sense that they are assigned female at birth and they mostly present androgynous and masculine. This is who I am in my head. Um, this is what I look like in my head. I like my voice. I think it's a great voice, and I like my name. Addison Grace isn't changing their name, and neither am I. I think Isaac Dahl is an iconic name, and I'm keeping it. I do want a pixie cut though. I'm going to look like a lesbian by 2030. That's the end of the video. Thank you for coming with me on my journey. Luigi got up here while I was filming. Uh, and he just curled up here. Your ears are turning me. I know you know I'm talking to you.